Today I'm going to show you how to brew a Belgian Pale Ale. We're going to be doing the all-grain version of this, and here's what you basically need. I have with me 6 pounds of Belgian Pale Malt. I have 4 pounds of Munich malt, Belgian as well. I have a pound of aromatic malt, Belgian, and then I'm going to be using about 6 ounces of Belgian caramunich malt, which I believe is about 54 or 58 Lovey Bond. And other than that, I'm going to be using a little bit of piloncillo. This is about 3/4 pounds, so it's basically brown sugar. And then to the boil, I'm also going to be adding about ½ ounce of crushed coriander. So I got the seeds, and I'm just going to crush them before I add them to the boil. And I'm going to be adding 1 star of anise, and I'm going to be using the peel of 2 oranges. So I'll be zesting those as I mash. And then for our hop schedule, very simple. We're going to use 1 ounce of Northern Brewer for bittering, and then we're going to use Saaz hops, 1 ounce, about 1.5 ounces is probably what I'm going to end up using. And for our yeast, I made a 1 liter yeast starter of WOP 575, which is the Belgian style ale yeast blend. And our first step here is going to be to add our grains into our mash tun. One thing to keep in mind is that you want to preheat your mash tun whenever possible. So I added some boiling water to my pot before adding my grains. So just an FYI. Okay, so after we add our grains, what we want to do is we want to do a single infusion mash. So I'm going to heat up my strike water to about 165 degrees according to my brewing software. And I'm going to use about 3 gallons and 3/4 to bring the temperature up to 152 degrees. So that's where we're going to mash. And I'm going to just start adding water. Should be about 5 gallons total in my mash tun. And that's how I'm going to measure the amount of water that I'm going to need here. I'm going to start stirring my pot just to make sure I don't have any spots where the grain is dry. So I want to make sure that all the grains are soaking evenly. There's no hot spots or anything like that. Okay, so once you add all of your strike water and you get to your desired temperature, what you want to do is you want to add any minerals, or you want to adjust your water if you need to. I'm using RO water, so I'm going to be using about 1/4 teaspoon and then about 1/8 of a teaspoon of gypsum salt. And then I'm going to use 3/4 teaspoons of calcium chloride. So once I add that, just stir everything, mix it in well together. Okay. And now we're just going to rest this at 152 degrees for an hour. So we'll be adding a little bit of boiling water as I go along just to maintain the temperature. But that's all we do for an hour, so we'll see you guys in a little bit. Okay, about 15 minutes into the mash, what you want to do is you want to take a little sample of your mash and you want to do your pH reading just to make sure that you are within range. And what I did was I took a little sample, so now I'm just going to take my pH strip and I'm going to dip that into the mash. And then I'm going to take the strip and I'm going to see where I'm at in the sample, and it looks like I am right around the 5.1, 5.2 pH range. So that means that I am well within the pH range where I want to be. So we are good to go. Now we're just going to continue controlling our temperature here. We have about half an hour, about 25 minutes left to go at 152 degrees, and then we're going to mash out. Okay, after a full hour has gone by, pretty much all of our starches have been converted into sugar. So our next step from here is going to be to recirculate. And we want to get rid of all the cloudiness at the bottom of the mash tun. So we're going to do that by opening up our valve slowly, and we're going to start to drain our wort, and we're going to just collect enough until we get a clear wort coming out of our mash tun. Okay, once your wort starts coming out clear, and you can just start draining everything into your kettle or whatever you use to collect all your wort. And what we're going to do is we're going to lauter this, and I need to bring the temperature up to 175 degrees, but since I have quite a bit of water in the mash tun, I'm going to start draining a little bit, and I'm going to start adding water to bring out the temperature as I start to lauter. So I'm going to try and keep the temperature at about 170 degrees throughout this process, and this should take probably about an hour and a half maybe. So that's what we'll be doing. While we're lautering, what we're going to do is we're going to grab our coriander seeds, and we're just going to crush them and get them ready so that we can throw them in at the end of the boil. Okay, after you get all of your coriander crushed, like I said, we're going to leave this ready so we can add that towards the end of the boil. And I'm also going to take 1 star of anise, and I'm going to leave that there along with my coriander. Now what I also did in the meantime was I unwrapped all of my piloncillo, and I got my hops, 1 ounce of Northern Brewer hops and about ½ an ounce of the Czech Saaz. And I also have my salts to add to the boil. Okay, so now what I'm going to start doing while I keep on lautering and sparging is I'm going to take my oranges and I'm going to start to get the peel off of them. What you want to do is get all the orange part and leave as much as the white behind as possible. Okay, after you're done lautering, what you want to do is you want to start boiling. So I have all my grains still in my kettle, so I'm just going to separate or get rid of the grains, and then I'm going to transfer all of my wort back to my kettle and start boiling. As you start to bring this to a boil, you're going to see foam start to form up on top, and that's going to make your wort rise. So you want to try and move that off to one side as much as you can, and be ready to turn down the heat of your kettle so that you don't get a boil over. So once you start to boil, what we're going to do is we're going to add our hops. We have 1 ounce of Northern Brewer hops and about ½ an ounce of Saaz hops, and I also have my minerals that I'm going to be adding to the boil. So I got gypsum and calcium chloride. So that's all going to go in right now. Make sure that you stir. Turn the heat off if needed. Just like that. Okay, and after you drop your hops in there and all of your minerals, we're going to add our sugar. So we're just going to go ahead and drop one at a time, and we're going to stir to make sure that it dissolves and it doesn't scorch down at the bottom. Drop the second one in. Same thing, we're going to stir. Okay, now we're going to throw the last one in there. Alright, and after you drop your sugar and everything else, we're going to boil this for 90 minutes. So we'll start counting down from right now. So, after 90 minutes have gone by, what we're going to do is we're going to add the rest of our hops. So we have an ounce of Saaz hops. We're also going to add the coriander, it's half an ounce, and we're going to add 1 star of anise. So I just have everything in here, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drop everything in at once, and I'm going to give this a nice little stir. Just like that. And the last thing that we're going to do is we're going to add the peel from 2 oranges. So we zested those 2 oranges, and I'm going to throw that in there as well. And I'm giving this a nice little stir. Just like that. Send this into a whirlpool, and we're going to turn the heat off. So this is the end of the boil. What we're going to do is we're going to cool down our wort. So we're going to take our wort chiller. We're going to place that right into our pot, just like that. And we're going to cool this down. That's it. And now what we're going to do is transfer our wort into our fermenter. And we're going to place a strainer to make our wort splash on the way out.
Like,
Just
the
randomly
aroma of
combine caramel, malt, hops, and you're fine.
Right there. Let's do it.
All right, that's that.
We'll see. We're missing 2.